Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 3 versus 3 on Merderet, and in this one I'm going to be playing the 17th SS-Panzergrenadier. I have Val and Betts on my team who are going to both be using the 9th Panzer. And then on the opposing side we have a Guards Armoured, 2nd Infantry and a 3rd Armoured. So this game actually desynced, just need to put that out there at the start. And that was mainly Betts, I think. He desynced, he ended up quitting because he desynced. And you'll see that happen sort of like about 10 minutes into the game. His units stop unloading and stuff because he was giving the orders on his screen but they weren't coming across onto our screen. But myself and Val were fine, and we assumed that our opponents were still fine as well. So just bear that in mind as we continue. But I wanted to show the 17th SS today because I wanted to have a go with the division that I showed you guys in the updated battlegroup overview. And this is my gameplay of that. So I'm going to be starting with quite a lot of recon here, as you can see. Plenty of spear troop. I've got the command infantry. Each command infantry is going to be sitting nearby an AT gun. I've got an AT gun starting at the mid with a command infantry and recon as well. And the reason for AT guns is quite simply because it's quite open on this right side, so AT guns seemed like the right choice. And aside from that, I do have myself an MG as well, with some infantry there, some Panzergrenadiers. So let's just have a look at where they're going. So I've got one unit coming out wide. I believe that was the recon for the right side here. Gives us a very high optics, allows us to see quite far up that right side. I've also got another recon for the mid, and I've got a recon for the left side as well, just so that we have information on everything on these fields. Then aside from that, I think I've got an AT gun coming up to here to shoot down this road on the left side. I've got one to the right side to go in this tree line and shoot both sides, and then I've got one coming up the train tracks here to protect the train tracks as well. Going to be sitting it in this orchard and firing anything that comes into line of sight. So I start to hear enemy troops come towards me, so I'm preparing to unload the Pak 38 at the moment, and I don't want to get my own Pak 38 killed early on by theirs, and that can happen if you leave it in the car, for example. So I'm going to drop it off there. This M1 gun does get a one-shot kill onto one of Betts' tanks at the start, but that's fine. My Panzergrenadier are providing the extra veterancy there to allow me to continue to engage this tank. This is a Stuart. That's going to get hit very hard and forced to fall back. I've got my Pak 38 here. That's getting line of sight onto the M3 half tracks, and already pretty decent start. Managed to take out the Jeep there, take out the half track. Got line of sight onto the half track down the train track as well. Unfortunately, I missed that shot. Pak 38 on the right side is going to get one shot onto the M8 Scott. The M8 Scott's moved. He tries to get it into cover, but it's going to go down this tree here that the M1 gun is sitting in. Doesn't really provide any lack of line of sight to stop that Pak 38 from firing. Ideally what he should have done is let the M8 Scott just fire and try and pin down the Pak 38, but he didn't. So I took full advantage of that, and losing his M8 Scott early on is quite a big deal, honestly. So Pak 38 is going to be moving out, taking out this M3 half track. If I can get rid of as many of these fire support vehicles as possible, then the 3rd armoured player is going to have a really hard time actually fighting back here. So took out another of his Jeeps. The half track goes down. I'm not entirely sure why, but the AT guns seem to focus the Jeeps before they do the half tracks, which is a very odd thing, but either way, they have that priority, and you've got to manage that appropriately. In this case, I didn't see it happen. The Jeep there just taking the shot for the half track. But the half track goes down nonetheless, and the armoured rifles are forced to fall back. Panzergrenadiers coming up here with the 2 MG42s. Really going to do a lot of work. I've got a SOS troop sitting in this tree line, just because it's covered by the orchard on the left. And so if anything comes into the top of it, the SOS troop 2-star veterancy should be able to do the job there. Pak 38 has also covered off this left side quite nicely. We managed to take out the half track on the left behind those trees as well. This Pak 38, it's well, it was going to fire at the M3 half track, but with this half track actually blowing up next to it, just pinned it down. MG42 opens up next to my Pak 38. So we've got quite a nice spread here. I played it quite defensively at the start for sure. I was actually going to be bringing in an ME109 G2 BR21 to rocket the AT gun here. That AT gun is going to be sitting in those flames for quite a while and eventually burning out. Obviously the flames get pretty hot after a while and they are going to die there. Not sure if our opponent could have avoided that by falling them back straight away, but either way, Panzergrenadiers continuing to attack the armoured rifles. Panzergrenadiers do win at this engagement range like pretty much all the time, but he is starting to rely on these M21 mortars, and that's not a lot of fun for me at all. But what I'm going to do is bring up the Stug 3. This is a 3-star Stug that you can get at the start of the game as the 17th SS. Going to be bringing that round to take care of this M3 half track. Also maybe take out the M5A1 on this right side, and maybe even be able to fast move it up to take care of the M21. But after 3 shots, Pak 38 takes out the Stuart for me, and the mortar wasn't quite on target there. 2 MG42s hitting that MG quite hard, and I've actually brought up a Nebelwerfer now alongside a supply vehicle. And this Nebelwerfer is actually going to focus on that AT gun that we spotted on the left side. The reason I brought up a supply vehicle with it is obviously not only to resupply it, but also to move it after it's fired. So throughout the game you'll see me pick up my Nebelwerfers and move them about after I've used them. And the rocket did almost get on target there, did quite a lot of damage, but I believe we left it alive since my opponent had started to move it back. But very light on units at the moment, my opponent, but I can't really make too much ground here because the Stug 3 isn't in the prime position really. Got to be careful of like the AT gun on the left. I know I didn't kill it, so that could pop out and take out my Stug 3. And I've also got to be careful of these armoured rifles with the bazookas on the right side. So the M21 mortar carrier is actually smoking off my Stug 3 to stop it being fired upon, which is fine. And Panzergrenadier is going to try and take advantage of that by moving through the tree line. But I'm just here trying to get into that 1,000 meter range. You can see I'm so damn close, but they're not going to let that happen. Moving my Nebelwerfer here. Just going to move it to a different location entirely. Keep it on the road most of the time, just so that I can pick it up and move it quickly. Because being able to like fast move the units is ideal. Yeah, as soon as it's unloaded, it starts loading again, and just got to wait for it to finish when I can fire another salvo, probably towards these mortars. ME109 coming in again from Val. He was having a good time with these ME109 G2 BR21s throughout the game. And over on this left side, pretty light defense, but a combined push really in the mid between Vets and Val. It's actually making quite a lot of ground at the moment. We are pushing the +1, 52% territory. Unfortunately, those Panzergrenadiers are just out of range of the Panzergrenadier as I moved them up. So with them getting pinned down like that, I did unfortunately lose out. And here, I'm basically forced to attack the M1 gun with my Stug 3 and hope that they miss. But unfortunately that wasn't the case. We do manage to repay the kill there onto the M1 gun, but 150 points goes down in flames as the Stug 3 gets taken out. That was rather unfortunate. They'd brought in another one and just dropped it off into one of those tree lines, and the recon couldn't quite see it because it was moving through this tree line. Starting to hammer the orchard on the left side again, but then realised that the AT guns come through to the right just as it was firing, so just going to pick up both those Nebelwerfers nonetheless and move them away again, as you can see. As soon as they get on the road, they move actually pretty damn quick, and you can take full advantage of that. Now, since I've added the Ju-87Ds to the division, I thought I would give them a try, so here you can see me bringing one in. And this is going to be going for the kill onto the M1 gun here. Only got 4 health left, so the 15 HE power bomb should definitely do the job. So we'll see the Stuka do its dive. Enemy Mustang is on the case. and goodbye to that AT gun. However, Mustang comes in, gets the kill, and unfortunately, because the Stukas do have bad resilience, the Mustang doesn't have to be on target for very long to make that happen. But if I had AA cover, which is now coming up, then maybe I could have forced the Mustang back before it got the kill, but it doesn't really matter. I managed to take out that AT gun, and that was pretty important for me to be able to continue to use armoured vehicles in the future. So the Pak-38 actually manages to take out one of the M21 mortar carriers as it was moved up. You can see there's like this line here of dead units. Scott, Stewart, M21. There's another M21 all at the back here, but I'm just going to be hitting it with a double Nebelwerfer strike to make it not only fall back, but possibly kill it. Because I really want to get rid of it if I can, and if I can spread enough fire and it drives over such fire, or said fire, then it might get killed off, like in this case. That might have blown up because it's open top, which would have been nice, but not this time round. So Nebelwerfer is still providing useful artillery cover throughout the game, and my MG42s are still very much alive. They're actually sitting out in the open at the moment. This one's moving back into the trees, but this one on the right side literally just sat there and mowed down armoured rifles and other units throughout the game. Recon on that right side gonna be pinned down, and well, there you see Bet surrendering since he did desync, and you see all these units, they just weren't like unloading or anything, and that's how we knew. So he surrendered, took one for the team, allowed the AI to take over, because if he didn't surrender, all that would have happened for the rest of the game is units would have just kept coming in and just not doing anything, or just not coming in at all. So there you see, off he goes. And I haven't moved my Nebelwerfers this time around, just because I know that their M21 mortars are out of range. So I'm not in a particular rush to move them until probably Phase B, when they start to get better strike aircraft. But early on, if I am facing against these M21 mortars, it's definitely worth getting the Nebelwerfers out of the way. Pak-38 is going to have a go at the M3 half-track there. It is being targeted by the Scott, however, with an attack, like fire position. Really well done by my opponent here. He used the fire position just short of my Pak-38 to start pinning it down, and I realised what was happening. Pulled back the Pak-38 behind the tree line, so he couldn't do it anymore. Nebelwerfer ready to fire again. Going to be focusing the M21 mortar on the right side. I've only got one AT gun over here, so making sure that I pin down this M21 is pretty damn important. Fortunately, the Nebelwerfer is just about to do the job. I've also got a second Nebelwerfer strike coming in. Again, just trying to create the flames that could burn out the vehicle, but not this time round once again. IG-18 is arriving on the right side to provide us with some cover and basically provide the potency to destroy those armoured rifles. The lethality is probably a better word, just to make sure we're killing off those squads for good. But 2 stars there, quite nice. Going to be able to pin down the M3 half-track quite easily. I've got 2 flak-ballings though covering the skies, so as a Mustang does come in, it gets hit very, very hard. Ideally, I shouldn't have had them so close behind this tree line, because it actually blocks their line of sight into the sky as well. Since I fired both Nebelwerfers again, removing them, as you can see, IG-18 is definitely doing the job now. MG-42 continuing to pin down the armoured rifles, and the AI officially going suicidal as it continues to press Panzer 1Cs, Panzer 2 looks straight into the enemy fire. So I've just got to deal with this push that's coming in on the right side. A couple of armoured LMG rifles, M8 Scott, M8 Greyhound, M3A1 half-track, and the mortar carrier. And what do I have? Since I have 2 flak-ballings on target, let me just pause it here. These flak-ballings are going to be moving into this tree line and basically providing fire support onto the armoured LMG rifles and these half-tracks, whilst also covering the sky, allowing the Ju-87 to come in and get some really nice kills. So here we go. 1-star Ju-87, going to bail out the Scot there. Track brake on the M8 and forces it to fall back. Also takes out the M21, and what a beautiful, beautiful combination that was. The Nebelwerfer now coming in to demolish the armoured LMG rifles as the Pak-38 finishes off the half-track and the M8. And that's one push, just absolutely demolished. All in one fell swoop. It just all came together and it was just crazy. That's just like 300 points just instantly destroyed. Absolutely nuts. And the flak-fillings will continue to be able to fire on these LMG rifles. So if they'd brought in a Mustang to hit my Ju-87, I would have had the flak-fillings ready to pin that down quickly, so I probably wouldn't have lost it anyway. The other thing to think about is that I did just damage his previous Mustang, very much so. So although he had that on his air tab, it was probably still repairing at this point, so I was well aware of that at the time. IG-18 going to be hitting those armoured rifles constantly. The fact that they're 2-star gives them that really nice rate of fire buff in order to kill down the armoured rifles very quickly, and with that it's time to push up. So infantry's trying to make some ground here, pushing up the Stoss troop through the tree line entirely, moving up my speed troop, moving forwards the flak-fillings either side up these tree lines, moving forwards basically all of my units now, trying to make as much ground as possible after destroying all of those units. On the left side, I was having a little bit of a hard time as a Sherman 5 is pressing through, but not too much to deal with. I'm just going to bring up a Pak-40 and a few units of Stoss troop to spread about these forest areas and just help him hold out there. Really nice double strike by these ME-109 G2 BR-21s. Takes out 2 of the M5 guns that were sat in this tree line, so that was really, really good. P-51 Mustang's going to fly right over the top of my flak-fillings. I was hoping I would get the kill, and I do, as P-51 Mustang goes down. So these flak-fillings in a prime position now, because they're not actually going to get hit very easily from ahead, but they can still fire to the left and right, and that's all that matters when it comes to these airplanes. So you can see the flak-filling being able to open up there and pin down this P-38 in the sky, but that one's going to get away just fine, as it wasn't directly over my AA and couldn't quite get the accuracy I needed. But we have been in phase B for quite a while now, so I've had a Stug 4 driving in from the edge of the map, and I really wanted to try out the 1,200 meter range on this Stug 4, and I really thought it would like buff up the phase B. And well, we'll see what happens with this Stug 4 as I continue. I have it on an attack move to get through to the edge of this orchard, so I can take on the enemy Shermans that are moving upon us. These Stoss troop here, they're having a go at these armoured LMG rifles, and I dropped the smoke on the right side to try and stop this M4A3 attacking me, but unfortunately I do just lose out there and get that squad surrendered. Sorry with what happened with the camera, I'm not entirely sure either. More recon on the way though, and they're just gonna zoom up and try and get as far as they can so I can reveal some extra positions for my Nebelwerfers to fire upon. Once again, these supply trucks moving and unloading. You can see that they are actually using up a lot of the supply there as well. Over on this left side, going to be unloading my Pak-40, the Stoss troop, and these Stoss troops since they've reached their locations, and just sort of placing them in the middle of these forest areas to give Val a base to attack from, although he is already making his own ground with the double Befehl Panzer IV and the Panzer II Lux combo there. Stug 4, 1,200 meter range, going to be hitting the MGMC all the way back there. The MGMC just about gets out of line of sight. Armoured LMG rifles are going to surrender the speed troop as they come under fire from the M3A1 half-track and the M4A1. Just looking for long-range kills here. Stug 4 going to be popping that half-track. Would have been able to do anyway. The main thing to compare is whether or not the Stug 4 actually uses its 1,200 meter range effectively. Now one thing I'm going to do here is actually exploit the use of the orchard line of sight. So I was going to move it back to here so that I only had to engage one Sherman at a time. But it looks like that in this case they did the job for me, as they moved over one Sherman before moving over the other one. So I managed to take on them one by one. But the idea was to reverse to the point where you can see how the range shortens as you move further back into the orchard. And you can really use that to like only engage one tank after another at certain ranges. So you can see where both of the corpses are currently. If you watch the range indicator, if I moved my Stug back to here, I could engage the first one and then move forward slightly and engage the second one. That's something to think about with the line of sight, especially when it comes to these orchards. But the Stug there, dealing a nice amount of damage. Stugs have always been pretty good with dealing with Shermans, and there they certainly pay off. And I've made a massive hole on this right side with my infantry as I've continued to push it up. All of my other fire support weapons are starting to follow up as well now, since I have taken out both of those Shermans. It gives us quite a lot of open ground to move across, so we may as well try and do it now. I'll just leave this Pack 40 on the road for the majority of the game, just in case Val loses his presence on this side, and the Sausage Troop just stay here and remain defensive. But a couple of Stuarts waiting to engage Val's Befehl Panzer 4 and Panzer 2 looks on that left side. Currently the AI just kind of blobbing and suiciding in the middle of the map. But so far so good. Actually bringing up my Nebelwerfers here even further so that I can continue to use them at a decent range throughout the rest of the game. JU-87 coming in again. Going to be going for the kill onto the MGMC. Unfortunately not quite paying off. JU-87 there. Basically if it killed the MGMC I would have been able to probably get these other vehicles. But it turns out that there was quite a lot of AA, especially in the middle of the map, and Focke-Wulf gets forced to fall back as well. But Val finishes off the lightning there with his own Focke-Wulfs. So the AI, I believe, moved around here and did take out the MGMC in the end. I'm now starting to use my Nebelwerfer onto the reinforcement road, though, as they have unloaded some infantry there. And that's going to force this M4A3 to fall back, along with the armoured LMG rifles that they dropped off. I have a second Stug 4 arriving, and I'm moving that up to this left side. But I have to be wary that I don't want to engage this M4A375 at less than sort of 600 meter range, I guess. Oh, and at least I definitely don't want to have to like drive round the edge of a tree line in order to engage either. I want to be prepared and facing the right direction so that I can hit them before they hit me. The first shot is always pretty important. But here I'm just kind of letting the M4A3 come towards me. Unfortunately the AI not really privy to my plans. But yeah, just waiting for that M4A3 to push a little bit too far and keeping the Stug back just in case. But I was kind of working on getting a nice crossfire going with these Stugs. Ideally I wanted in the end to have one on this right side to cover this train track as well as the roads to the left side, and then have one on the train track here to shoot from this direction and have that crossfire that would take out something like this M4A3. But the AI, again, not doing particularly well. Pack 38 is in this tree line, so I'm hoping that might be able to do the job as well. Does manage to get the track break onto the 50 cal half track, and we're going to kill that off. And since there is an M4A3 here, well, just going to try and get into a decent position to take it out. At that range, the AP should be more than enough. But Betz and the AI Panzergrenadier getting close enough. Anyway. So now I'm starting to deal with some pretty big howitzers here. These are the M2A1 howitzers from the 2nd Infantry. And my lord, do they do a lot of damage. Taking out my MG there. And they also do a lot of damage to my Pack 38. It's currently hitting the M4A3 constantly. But as long as it's in range, should be able to continue to do damage there. The Stug 4 at max range with the 12 AP. also has a decent chance to kill, but Pack 38 there eventually getting the kill. Just before the howitzers come in and take it down to 1 health. They do so much damage, they really do. And they're pretty damn accurate. Yeah, the Stug here able to take advantage of the full 1,200 meter range to hit the M8 as it comes down the road. Do lose the command unit there as well to those howitzers, which was unfortunate. But there goes the M8. There's also a Calliope on the way. And I'm not sure if he was quite aware of this, but my Stug 4 crept into range of that as well, and I was hoping to be able to get that kill. On this left side I'm also getting my Stug 4 into position to be able to shoot down the road, so anything that comes in from the left side spawn will end up under fire from my Stug 4s eventually. And while this has all been going on, I've also brought up some of these SDKFZ 10-4s, which are the trucks with the 20mm autocannons on the back, the Black 38s. Calliope does go down, and now I'm starting to engage a jumbo. At max range the jumbo can't penetrate a Stug 4, so I'm quite happy with this engagement. And I've brought up a SPW-232 to accompany the Stug 4. Got a 223 on the left to accompany this one. P-38 Lightning going to be used, the 25 HE going to be coming in, killing off the 223. Unfortunately the flak flings don't quite do enough damage to do the job. One thing I do here though is use the Nebelwerfer to force the jumbo to fall back as I continue to fire upon it with my Stug 4. Now I was hoping that it would show its side armor, but it didn't, unfortunately. So I'm going to be relying once again on the Ju-87 to get that kill. And the other thing I'm doing here is bringing in some FK-18s in order to try and pin down the opposing artillery. Those howitzers were doing quite a lot of damage to me throughout the game, so I'm going to be trying to take advantage of that. Anzac surrenders. That's my opponent here, the 3rd armoured player. And I'm going to be coming in with the Ju-87 anyway to try and get that kill. Don't manage to, as it continues to fall back. Now since we're at a +3, only 1 minute and 30 seconds until victory for our side. And all the while, going to be continuing to pin down his artillery here. I think I was doing a pretty decent job of that with my FK-18s. They are going to try and counter battery my FKs, but I've got mine a bit more spread out than theirs, so it shouldn't be so much of an issue. Now the other thing that's on the way is the Pack 43s, because I did lose one of my Stug 4s on the left side to these M5 guns. I've got to rely on something a bit better to kill off these heavier armoured tanks, especially the jumbo. So that's what these Pack 43 for. I call them jumbo killers for a reason, and that's because they have the AP value to penetrate a jumbo at max range, which is really, really nice. So just hammering that M5 gun as it comes into the tree line. I still, of course, have the Nebelwerfers available, so that's going to be firing away again. And you can see this Nebelwerfer has used up almost an entire truck of ammunition throughout this game. Really, really doing a fantastic job as the AI blobs up here as well. Going to be hitting that very hard with the Nebelwerfer. Pack 43
Lay down your weapons, guys.
does just about have line of sight down the road. Jumbo, I think, is coming into line of sight there. Yep, my Pack 43 starts firing upon it, but with 3 seconds left on the clock, that is the end of the game. And unfortunately, because the game desynced, we don't have the end screen for you in this one. However, it was a pretty decent KD on my side of things, and I thought this was a pretty nice game to sort of demonstrate the uses of the 17th SS. I find in Phase A, it's actually not as aggressive as it kind of used to be with how I built it. You can, if you're in a town, play quite aggressively due to the Panzer or Nebelwerfer and infantry combo, but in Phase B, if you're playing in the open, that's where this division really comes to life. And I love the versatility of this division and the fact that it can play in pretty much all scenarios now, due to the fact that these Stug 4s do have that extra range available. Because in Phase C, I mean, these Pak 43s, you can get 2-star Pak 43s, and they really do a lot of damage. But that's it. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.